Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to this ongoing series, Talking Dance, sponsored by the Steps Beyond Foundation and Steps on Broadway. I'm Allen Maniker, and I'm going to be your host and interviewer. This series continues to present an exciting lineup of dance artists who will be sharing their stories and insights with you. They range from across the dance spectrum. The full lineup and information can be found at stepsbeyond, which is one word, .org. There's also a place there to make a suggested donation should you be so inclined, which we do hope you will be. Also, please note that you may enter your comments and questions in the chat and that we will make every effort to answer all questions asked. And if you would like to let us know where in the world you're located and listening in from, we would love to know. So, originally from Detroit, now located in New York City, choreographer Sonya Tayeh's credits include Moulin Rouge and Sing Street, both on Broadway, Rent Live for television, The Lucky Ones for Ars Nova, Face the Torrent for Malpaso Dance Company, which was commissioned by the Music Center in Los Angeles, You'll Still Call Me by Name, commissioned by New York Live Arts and Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival, Martha Graham Dance Company's Lamentation Variation Series, 100 Days for New York Theater Workshop, The Skin of Our Teeth for Theater for a New Audience, The Wild Party for City Center Encores, and Kung Fu for the Signature Theater. Tayeh has directed and choreographed for renowned music artists, including Miley Cyrus, Florence and the Machine, and Kylie Minogue. She holds 2 Emmy nominations for Fox's So You Think You Can Dance, 2 Drama Desk nominations, an Obie Award, and 2 Lucille Lortel Awards for Outstanding Choreography. So please join me in welcoming Sonya Tayeh. Hi, Sonya.
Hi, how are you?
Great. It's so great to see you.
It's great to see you.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course. My last name is really tricky, but it's Tayeh.
Tayeh. Yeah. Okay, I do apologize.
That's okay. I'm trying to get everyone on the same page with my last name. There's many versions of my last name.
Really? Is it, I understand you're part Palestinian, part Lebanese?
Right.
Is it a Palestinian name?
Yeah.
Tayeh. Okay. Yeah. Now I know. I can always learn. But you're originally from Detroit, Michigan.
I am, yes. Yeah.
Me too.
I know. That's so cool.
I'm from Southfield, and you said you're from Dearborn Heights?
Yeah, just right outside of Detroit, just literally a block over is Detroit.
Right. Wow. Yeah. And we also talked about you went to Wayne State University.
Yeah.
So did I. That was my medical school. So it's really a small world, isn't it?
Yeah. It's one full circle, right?
Really is. So do you come from a family with an arts background?
My mother, I consider them my 2 older sisters and my mother very creative, but not any specific. My middle sister is a beautiful writer, and she used to act a bit. But that's about it. My mother listened to a lot of prayer music, and music was always a part of our life growing up as a kid. So there was always rhythm in my life. And living in Detroit and being brought up in such an incredible mecca for music and dance, I was just immersed in it at a really young age.
But so were you exposed at a young age to both commercial and concert dance?
I didn't know about that type of those dance worlds until I was about 17, 18 when I started to actually formally start dance training. My mother would buy me books on Twyla Tharp and Martha Graham, and it was mystique at that point because we didn't have all of the means to be at the studio 5 days a week or 7 days a week and pay this hefty tuition often. So when I was able to, I tried to be at a couple of studios, but they wouldn't take me because I was older, which I find very interesting. And hope that doesn't happen to anyone who wants to start to dance later. Yeah.
But do you recall what you first saw as a formal dance concert?
A formal dance concert. Does Janet count?
Sort of.
I saw Allen Maniker, I think that was one of the first companies I saw. Do
you remember your first impressions?
Oh, you know what? Let me go back. When I was in college, they played this documentary about Martha Graham. I was at a community college first, getting just getting started. And they had this rare footage of Martha talking about dance. And immediately I was weeping and looking around to see if everybody else was weeping. And I just felt taken aback. And I felt like, oh, you can make the dances. You can make these worlds happen. Because I never felt like a performer dancer. I feel really, I love dancing, but I feel really super present, too present when I dance. I don't get lost in it. I love making it. So she was a huge stepping stone for the reasoning behind, oh, this is possible. And she was such a radical as well.
Right. She was a radical, wasn't she? Yeah. But so then was Ailey the first live?
Ailey was the first live, yes. Ailey was the first live.
And what was that? Were you crying again?
I was crying, yes. I was crying. And it felt like magic. It felt like this other world of Olympian artists. Like what is this craft that you can indulge yourself in for all of your life? I think that's incredible. So it was so much mystique at that time.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned Twyla Tharp, because my first live performance was seeing the Joffrey do Little Deuce Coupe at Wolf Trap in Washington, D.C. It was the premiere of Little Deuce Coupe.
I saw ABT do that last season. Amazing.
Yeah.
She's incredible. Those are my two. Twyla and Martha are the ones that help. They're everywhere in my home, and that's who they keep me on my toes.
And have you since had the opportunity to meet Twyla?
I'm too afraid. I'm too shy. I have her book in my The Creative Habit in my backpack, because it's like the best book in the world, and her new book, right. Which is also for any dancer that's of age and feeling the cricks in the body. It's such a beautiful, inspiring book to read about dancing for life. But I was rehearsing at, I forget what studio it was, and a friend of mine is in her company, and he was like, she's right next door. She was literally right next door. And I took the book out like a little kid, and I was like, I just want to knock on the door. And I wasn't courageous enough.
She's a formidable personality. That summer, because I was at Wolf Trap, she was also there. That was the first summer that Shelley Washington danced with her.
Wow.
It was a really impressive summer. And but my favorite saying of hers is from the Bix pieces. Everything old is new, everything new is old. Today I decided to choreograph to the Goldberg variations just because it's already been done before. And I love that.
She's just, and I just watched her. She's 70. I forget how old she is. I should know this, but she's in her 70s. Yeah. And I saw her getting tossed around at the Joyce 2 years ago. Just this beautiful piece she did. I was weeping in that one as well.
All right. So you're letting us know that you're kind of weepy.
I am weepy. Yeah. Well, I'm in touch with my emotions.
There you go. Good. That's a great thing. Yeah. But so tell me, so if you really sort of started your formal training at 18, do you also have 17, 18? Do you also have your first impressions of standing in a ballet class at the bar for the first time?
Yeah, I was in the room with a bunch of little kids because I begged to take class because, and I didn't care what age. I just wanted to understand what this world was. So standing there with them, they were younger. Was always in a class with many dancers that were younger, much younger than me, and I just ate it up. It didn't come natural. It was very hard. It still is. I have to work at it all the time. But I'm telling you, the minute it clicked, especially in the Martha Graham story, it was full throttle focus. It was a wonderland of ideas. My brain works in an anatomical fashion. So understanding the bones and the muscles and how the body moves really helped me understand how I wanted to move, and really helped me survive those classes, because they're not going to, at that time, they weren't going to go back for me. They had to keep the majority of the class who understood this stuff going. So I kind of got sucked into it, and it was tough to keep up, but that wasn't my focus. My focus was to understand it. So I didn't care if I looked crazy or if I looked terrible. I wasn't sweating that at all.
Right. But so does that mean that as soon as you saw those documentaries on Martha, et cetera, you knew immediately you wanted to pursue a career in dance?
Yeah, I mean, and even before then, I danced I was in the underground dance scene in Detroit, the house music, techno, hard nightlife of Detroit, which is a huge like gem of Detroit, and one of the most profound memories of my time there. Even there, when we would go to the parties and dance, I just would stand on top of the speaker and look at the sea of people dancing and going, I want to feel this all the time. I want to create this energy all of the time. So it was always in me. Just I'm a slow burn when it comes to like making sure, because I was taught to make sure you study it and be good at it. And also know and understand the root of it, so that you can not toss it away, but evolve it by putting your voice inside of it. So I took my time.
So when you started at Wayne State, were you already choreographing?
No.
When did you start to choreograph?
I was choreographing in my basement. Like I was making dances up for my mom and my sisters. I started choreographing. I started at Wayne State. They had a composition classes, and we had to show smaller work. And then my piece got accepted to, is it American College Dance Festival? And it was submitted there. So that was really exciting. And there was nothing stopping me at that point. I just knew it.
Was there someone that was especially encouraging to you at Wayne State?
My dear, beautiful, amazing friends who are watching over me now, Courtney and William, were a huge part of my life at Wayne State. Erica Wilson Perkins was a professor there, and she had her own smaller company, and she brought her company to Wayne State as well. So they would take class, and I would train with them, and I ended up being in her company as well. So they were huge staples of my life. They really changed everything for me, just made it feel possible. And we're just as obsessed. I mean, it's an obsession. You can't have this type of intense lifestyle without being slightly obsessed.
Right.
Craft, because it's all consuming. I've sacrificed a lot to maintain this type of career and this type of love that I have for it.
Right.
To have that, to see other people have that, just made it feel even more possible. Every time it just felt more possible, you know?
Right. So what is your choreographic process? I mean, are you a music first, a movement first, an inspiration first, some of the above? Does it change with all different things?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on what project I'm doing. I often like to move around without any of the music, and then press play and see what the movement does to the music. But if it's a Broadway show, if it's like Moulin Rouge, there's already a palette of ideas and a script that you have to abide by, and so you act accordingly on that end. But I still picked some of that because I find it to be really interesting, because I like to work in opposition as well. I like to oppose the music, not necessarily go with the music, but find different layers inside of it that you may not hear, or just try to pump something other than what you're hearing out. So it depends. Yeah.
Was it always Did you always enjoy that idea of opposition to the music from your very earliest work, or is this something that's evolved?
Now, I think I tried to fight it for a while. Like, I should be more organized. I should be just dancing to the music or figuring it out through the music, but I would get sensory overload. So I needed to be quiet, and I need to visualize what I'm working on, what the show wants to feel like, or what the movement wants to feel like. I have to see it in my brain and act accordingly through my body. And then all the other elements can come and interrupt it or evolve it as well, you know?
Have you ever had the opportunity to go back and revisit your old work? And what do you think of it? Your very earliest work, what do you think of it?
I honor every ladder. It's hard, but I honor, I'm here because of there. I believe that. So I could see, I see what just the study of it over time. I see the difference. So there was moments where I was trying to prove something. There was moments where I didn't know exactly where I was, and I still don't know. It's always a mystery. It's a beautiful map. I think about my career as being this beautiful, vivid map that takes me to so many different trails and places that are mysterious and full, you know? And I just try to honor where I am. I'm not doing it easy. Like I said, it's hard.
But so you graduated from Wayne State. Which way did you head, east or west? I
graduated when I was 26, and my friend had my best friend, my dearest friend, had a dance company in San Francisco. I knew that there was something interesting because there was, you know, Janet, Paula Abdul, all of those amazing artists that were making dance videos. Dance was a huge part of their life and their thematic ideas and their music videos. And I then learning, having this concert dance or college dance. And I never understood why it was all so separate, like all very separate. They never met together during the time when I was in college. So there was this curiosity that was already brewing, like, am I going to have to choose a lane? Because that's going to be really hard for me, and I'm going to fight that for sure. And I don't know if I would have had all of that wherewithal if I wasn't older. Like if I didn't have some age on me. So I knew that I wasn't ready to LA or New York yet. So I moved to San Francisco, and my friend had an amazing small dance company, and I just locked myself in that studio for 5 years until I found that I had a voice, enough to defend and enough to support in terms of my courage. So I didn't leave San Francisco until I was 30, and then I moved to LA when I was 30.
Wow. So LA. And do you have something that you consider a big break where everything changed?
Yeah. So You Think You Can Dance changed it, slammed my foot on the gas in a place I wasn't totally prepared for, I will say.
How did it come about?
When I first moved there, you go to LA and they're like, who's your agent? You need an agent. So I was like, no one knows me. I have 3 friends here. How am I going to do this? You know? So I was like, what is the way for them to see me? And I thought, I'll have a show. I'll have a show. I'll invite all my friends who I love that are dancers. I will spend 8 weeks at the studio that was donated to me. Such a sweet time of my life where I was able to go to this space and just use it at any time, and take 2 months and create. This could be a Gap commercial. This could be an iPod commercial. This could be for this artist, like 6-7 minute pieces, 11 of them, 6-7 minute pieces, just for people to see different worlds in my brain. So I had my friends sleeping on the living room floor for 8 weeks. It was crazy, and we put on the show. And I invited. It was when you could put flyers on the windows of your car still, and we're flyering everywhere we're going, and hoping people will come. And it ended up being sold out. And I saved seats for a bunch of agents. But prior to that, it was like 2 nights before that, they asked me to do one of the pieces at Carnival. Carnival is a huge, still going, a huge dance performance of a slew of choreographers at this club, and it was a big deal back then. And I did a piece there, and I wanted to be with this specific agency really badly, and he happened to be there, and he was like, "Who are you?" And we introduced ourselves, and we talked a little bit, and I was like, "I invited you to my show." And he's like, "We'll be there." And then the next morning after the show, they called and said they want to sign me. And then I went to the office, and they said, what I said, "I have big dreams." I have big goals. And So You Think You Can Dance was on its 4th season or 5th season, I think. And I was like, "What's this? How is that possible?" And it didn't, people always start when you're coming up. It's frustrating. Sometimes you get these experiences where people are like, "Not yet," or, you don't have much yet, or you have to build this yet. And I was just like, just let me, I just need to be able to knock on the door. I just need them to see me, And it got in the hands of the producer, Jeff Thacker, who is a dear friend of mine. And he saw I had a little mini reel with clips of like my 4 dances I've done in my lifetime so far. And I met him, and he booked me for 4 episodes. And everything from that moment, from the first episode, my entire life changed.
Sonya, it's like a fairy tale story. How long were you in LA?
I was in LA for 5 years.
So 5 years between when you arrived and when you got So You Think You Can Dance.
Yep. So from 30 to 35, I was in LA.
Wow. See, so it's like one of those things where you work and you work and you work and you get a big break, and then all of a sudden you're an overnight sensation.
Yeah. And then it comes with a lot. It has its ups and downs for sure. For sure.
So I know we're not going to spend a lot of time, but if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I would like to show one little clip.
Oh God, of what? Wait, of what? No one told me this was going to happen. What is it?
Oh, really? It's from So You Think You Can Dance. Would you prefer I not?
Which one? What piece?
It's the piece that you did to Meredith Monk, Vow.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Good. So I'm glad I picked a good one. So beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
beautiful.
So long ago. Oh my God, that was so long ago. It's
And
a
and
life.
what I also love is that you used Meredith Monk. I love her work.
I
She's
found her in college, and she's like she actually gave me. I wrote a love letter to her about when I was doing the piece for Martha Graham, and she let me use her music for that piece as well. And she came to the show and everything. It was really amazing.
wow, wonderful, wonderful. So tell me when you're, and again, like I said, we're not going to spend a lot of time on So You Think You Can Dance, but when you're choreographing for the show like that, are you choreographing to the dancer's particular strengths, or are you purposely giving them movement to challenge them?
It's a mixture of both, right? Because you have to realize that the amount of time is this much. You have it's a running train. Once it starts, it's a weekend. So you have the first day where you're working for a couple hours. The second day you have a heartier time, and then the third day you're on the stage. So I go big to start, and I have plans, plan Bs and stuff. But I also give space. But that, in terms of a process, those duets were finished before I got there. And then I would have a couple of holes, but there's just not enough time to explore. And then you look at their strengths. You can tell right away what will be needed, and then you act accordingly.
Uh-huh. So, that TV show was really one of the things that ushered in the era of competitive dance. How do you think that's influenced young dancers coming up today? Is it a healthy influence, and how does it affect artistry?
I think everything needs to be. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're suddenly really staticky. Oh, there you go. Hi.
I'm here.
I think everything has its good, his positive and negatives about it. It's a really tricky time because of social media and the pressures of content and who has the most followers and all this. There's so much excess competitive energy. I don't think that was the main thing that So You Think brought. It brought dance to people who don't see dance and don't see it as something that is important and vital and Olympian, truly what those dancers can do. And I wish so badly that there was more behind the scenes of understanding what it took to do that show and to be on that show. You have people, dancers from all walks of the world that have gone through so much in their lives, and you get them and you just try to have this moment with them, and it moves so fast, and you want to be able to give them space to grow and give them something to focus on. So I think that it's just, I think it has its good and bad. And I think that it's important to acknowledge both sides of the coin,
Well, certainly your choreography went a long ways to recognizing the artistic side. It wasn't just kind of tricks, if you will.
Thank you. Well, I didn't focus on, but I also wasn't told to focus on tricks or anything. But there's also a pressure when it comes to television. It's 1 minute and 30. There's a little bit of a wow desire that's in there, sure. But I think for me, I had to be able to maintain, because I was on for a bunch of seasons, and I was growing in my career and who I wanted to be as a choreographer. I had to take that with me there in any form. When I did X Factor, when I did The Voice, like any of those performances with Florence, like it's my perspective has to be in there still. My integrity as well. Even if it's 20 seconds and even if it's 20 minutes, it has to have. I have to have a strong say inside of it. So I really try to maintain artistic integrity inside of it, and also think of these moments as an idea that this 1 minute and 30 could expand into something else, and I would use those ideas for longer form pieces.
Got it. So let's pivot for a minute Okay, and let's now talk about Moulin Rouge.
Aw,
That's nice that gives you such a pleasure to see.
I miss it so much. I miss it so much.
Tell us how you got there.
My dear friend and colleague, Alex Timbers, the director of Moulin Rouge, called and asked me and told me he was directing Moulin Rouge. And I was like, duh, this is perfect. It's a perfect musical to be on Broadway, in my opinion. It's the perfect movie to create as a live stage performance. And it's been 4 years of the hardest work I've ever done. Because
Why?
the scale, that it's a dance musical, which was for that to be nominated for a Tony over a musical that has all of that dance is a dream come true. Like I can't even fathom that's still a reality of mine. And I'm so proud of it, not because of course I'm so proud of the nomination, but because it's so much dance. The opening piece, the opening number is almost 13 minutes long. The amount of dance that carries the story and that it's provokes thought and provokes feeling without dialogue is profoundly incredible to me. It's like my dream of having a Moving Out on Broadway, just like Twilight, like that scale of dance. And you get this incredible ensemble that is so multifaceted and excellent at their craft. It was just nothing short of monumentally exciting and challenging all at the same time.
Can I share a little piece of that opening number?
Sure.
Okay, hold on.
How do you have it? Oh, was that Good Morning America?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's me, your own beloved Harold Ziegler, in the flesh. To the Moulin Rouge! Because you can! Because you can! Hardy, 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 hardy. Hardy, 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 hardy. Because you can! Because you can! Because you can!
Again, absolutely wonderful. So you managed to so successfully translate that frenetic kind of movement vibe from the movie. When you first were confronted with the project, did you sort of have concerns or issues on like, how am I going to get that vibe?
Yeah, I work in a highly physical and angsty energy anyway. So it's the hot bloodedness of the movie was very much a part of my cells. It was lots of sleepless nights thinking about how the rail cam, the steady cam, the way they pan, and they have all these machines to help do these swift cuts that just give you so much sexual tension and grit inside of it. And I said, well, I was just thinking about it and I was like, It's all about momentum. It's momentum. Momentum as full speed ahead, sudden stops. Momentum as rigorous and unconventional formation changes. Hefty dynamics in terms of partnering. Like all of that was a very much effort focused in my process.
So was it something that was thought about before you got into the studio, or was it trial and error when you got into the studio?
Before, big time. Yeah, I watched the movie a bunch to get myself back into that type of adrenaline, and then I wrote down her Twyla's books and training and as how to survive in a rehearsal process. Just my starting points, and that was my that was my focus point while making the choreography. That stuck with me every day. Yeah.
And when you looked at the end product, did it seem like it was a long journey from the first seed to what finally showed up on stage?
Oh yeah. I mean, the amount of pre-production, the amount of revision, the amount of work, because I had incredible collaborators that had the same ambition that I want to carry in a room. How can we really dive in and indulge as much as we can to make this show as right in our eyes first, as we want it to be. And it was by the end, I couldn't feel my hands and feet. That I had numbing in my hands and feet by
really?
Yeah, by opening, I was just exhausted in the best way, though. In the best way. I wouldn't take anything back.
You needed a B12 shot for sure.
I had B12 shots in my purse throughout the entire process and gave myself B12 shots every day, every week. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I put this back up because the lower left picture is really one of my favorite. And I think it really goes to what you talked about as far as, so you think you can dance and you wish people had more of a back story. And this to me is the backstory of a Broadway musical.
Yes.
Seeing your head right down here, watching on sort of a made up little set in some crappy little basement space for hours and hours at a time, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Am I right?
Yep, I would get there around, I have to get myself ready before anybody gets in there. So I get there much earlier before anyone else comes. So around 8:30, and then I leave around 7:30, 8. And then when we're in tech, we get there around 11 and we leave at 2 a.m. It's just nonstop. But it's the best. I love it.
Along the way, did any of the concept change for you?
There was a couple of sections in the show that weren't working, and that's what's so great to have it out of town, because we had Boston first before we got to Broadway. So to be able to look at Boston and then have a year, that was tough. So we went from Boston, then we closed, and we had a year before we were opening on Broadway. So that felt like a million years. But then when we got to pre-production, it flew by. So from Boston, we had a list per me and my colleagues of what we wanted to change. It wasn't super hardy, just like tweaks here and there. Like there's so many songs in it too. So do these songs really yield the story? Because that's what's so beautiful about Moulin Rouge too, is the excess. It could just be excess for excess sake and dance for dance sake. And I find that an art form, and I love that. I don't need to dance. I most of the time dance for purpose and feeling and intention. But because of the excess behind Moulin Rouge, it's tricky, and it could trick you to like just put it in because it's fun. And so there was a lot of rules we had to abide by to hold true to the integrity of the piece.
So did you end up doing a lot of editing of movement?
Oh yeah, I work in excess anyway, so I load tons and tons on before I start to pull away. So yeah, oh yeah, big time.
So does movement invention come easily for you?
Sometimes. I have to work hard at everything, which I wouldn't change. But yeah, sometimes it does. I'm really hard on myself, so it's very much hyper analyzing and trying to get really inside of it in a really deep way. So it takes a lot of brain power and time. Yeah.
Are you your own severest critic?
Oh yeah. Big time. I'm very aware of how blessed my career has been to be multifaceted in this way, and have the wherewithal to fight to not stay in a lane, to refuse to stay in one lane, that I had more to say. That was the hardest part about leaving So You Think You Can Dance, my beautiful family there, because it was this, well, she can't do full form work, or she can't do long length work, or her work isn't substantial enough. And I'm just like, that was that show. You're hiring me for this show. I wouldn't do that on this show. And when you want people to have experience, you have to give them the experience. You have to give them the opportunity to have the experience. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Pounding down the doors. All
right. It's a catch-22. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky, and because God forbid we fail. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I think failure is a hearty awakening of a lot of beautiful realizations of oneself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's great that you use the word multifaceted, because that's a perfect segue to the next question.
Great.
So in another aspect of your life, you worked with these high-powered music people, Miley Cyrus, Kylie Minogue, Florence and the Machine. Does choreography for large stadium shows require a completely different perspective? Do you have to adjust the movement and the staging? Oh
yeah, it depends on the design of the show. For Kylie Minogue's Aphrodite tour, there was runways and parlors and balcony. There was so much in there, and you want to film. You want to make sure that your point of focus is her, of course, and creating the mood for her. And then you also have making sure that she's able to maintain the long concert to sing and dance, because she dances as well and she's beautiful, and just making sure that I start with the artist first and what they need or what they dream of in this concert tour that we're doing together. And then from there, I trickle on all of the themes. For Miley, I directed Miley's tour, so I was able to direct it and choreograph, so I was able to kind of compile my ideas with just me and her. And she's a badass, as we know, and she can move as well. So it was a more one level. So it just depends on the scale, and then depends on the theme of the concert, and depends on the artist.
Well, what's the largest venue you've ever seen your work in?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know.
I mean, like a stadium with
Miley and Kylie. Miley and Kylie were stadium of like 40, 50,000. Yeah.
And the first time you see your work in front of 40,000 people, does your jaw just drop going, oh my God?
I weep and weep. I'm screaming in the crowd. I'm just like, what is happening? And I'm always that excited. I just love it. So fun. That's where you feel when people are cheering and they're affected and they're moved. It's not validation superficially. It's really about, I want to provoke and move people. I really, with my ideas, and hopefully they find solace or healing or questions or in their mind after they leave an event that I've had work in, even when it's not music, there's still substantial emotional value there as well. That's what I fought with a lot too, is like, what's more substantial than the other? They're all substantial. They all come from love and someone's love for something somewhere,
Yeah. So do you have to put on a different hat and say, oh, I'm working in TV now, or, oh, I'm working for a stadium show, or, oh, I'm working on a concert venue? Or does it all sort of come from the same place in your mind?
I feel like it all comes from the same place in my mind, because I think for me, if I break it up like that, my ego will probably get in the way. Like the pressure of where it's going will get in the way, just for me. So I just focus on who am I working with and for, and what is the story? What am I trying to say, or what are they trying to say? And then I put myself inside of it. So really, same questions per show.
So of all the mediums that you've worked in, do you feel like one maybe comes more naturally to you than the others?
Concert dance.
Concert dance, really?
Yeah, company work. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why. I think the process is more intimate. You know, I'm a quiet, grounded type of person. So like I can get big and I'm super loud. I'm sure you've seen when I'm yelling in class or in rehearsals. I'm really loud and passionate about that. But like the way that you're able to, with Graham, with Give Me That, like with Malpaso, all of the just small groups, and it's just you. The lighting designer doesn't come in until later. Like it's just you and them. That feels really nice. And there's the time, there's a bit more time as well.
Right. So you feel like you develop a personal relationship with your dancers?
I try to. I feel like I have. I hope they say that about me. But yeah, I try to get, because I'm walking in as a human with all my stuff. I want them to do that too. I want them to know I see them on the same even playing field, that I'm not here and they're here. They're very much with me. So I always say I need to feel your humanity in the room, and I need you to feel mine. And I get nervous still. It's never going to go away. I get insecure still. That's never going to go away. And that's part of my process.
Right.
So to get to dance them is to know them. So I want to know them. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure. So when you're working, especially in a concert venue, is it collaborative, or is it still you have worked out the movement in your mind?
Oh no, I come with many ideas, and even in the improv, if there is improv or a voice that I need from them, there's a guide. There's always a guide. I'm always guiding them, or call them prompts. Give me. I'll say, shrug your right shoulder and look down. Whatever that interprets in your body, and then from what I see, how everyone interprets it, then we talk about it, and then we find one focused move, et cetera, et cetera. So it does feel like a big conversation for sure, guided by the center of the idea coming from me.
Yeah. So aside from eventually working up the courage to meet Twyla Tharp, is there any new worlds for you to discover? Is there a particular dance or dance form or dancer that you would love to work with that you haven't yet?
I want to work in film. I want to do a movie really badly. I would love to do a commercial or two. Those are the two venues I haven't worked with yet. I would love to choreograph on Ailey. That's a big old dream of mine. Yeah, those are big dreams. I think that's a big list. It's an ambitious list.
That's a good list. That's a very good list.
Yeah.
So have you been able to choreograph in this COVID world?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been busy. It's been, at first, I was walking into Tech for Sing Street on Broadway when the pandemic, when they shut us down and told us to go home. So at first it was brutal, as it was for all of us. And I felt really frozen, and I didn't jump right on the Zoom classes. And I didn't understand where I was, or what I wanted to do, during this time. So I sat for a while in sadness for a little while, to be honest. And then I slowly started to daydream about ideas I've always wanted to try or just play with. And what I found is I work with Juilliard. I've done some things I can't say, unfortunately, but they'll be released in January, February. And some upcoming exciting projects on the horizon due to the time that I wouldn't have had if my schedule was in line. And being able to play. I've learned the art of play because I'm working without a premiere date right now. And I thought that I was really present in a room, but now that there's the wonder of a premiere, it's a little bit less pressure. And I would love to bring that air that I have right now when the world opens completely back up, our worlds.
So I'm sure, are you saying that this time is sort of giving you more freedom to experiment in a way that you hadn't before?
Yes, because before the pandemic, I was literally running on fumes. I was going from Broadway show to Broadway show nuts. I had zero time. I was just pure adrenaline. And so the questions are, how do I give myself the time that I need, which is a huge battle for all of us? And how do I find this little bit of extra air in my sockets that I have right now? I don't know the answers, but I know I want to try to find those things when the world comes back up and then it gets so out of a rocket busy, you know?
Right. Well, do you have a sense of which you enjoy more? The quiet, having space and time, or the frenetic, another premiere around the corner?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think for my overall well-being and for everyone's well-being, because I find we're all overworked. The ask of us is hardy. I do love that, but I would love to find a balance. I would love to hybrid them in some way. I would love to not feel like that's the only way I can thrive. Does that make sense? I would love to thrive on both channels if possible.
Sure. And when you find the answer, please share it with everyone else.
I definitely will.
Sonya, during this time, have you also been teaching?
I have been teaching. I've been teaching at Steps and doing other stuff online. Yeah, it's been really, that was a challenge at first, but I have incredible associates that help me. And I just love it was so inspiring to see, because I was stressing out more than the students were. They had it down. They just moved all their stuff, got their living room ready. Some people had studios in their basements and dogs are walking around. It was just very human. And I really loved seeing that. So yeah, it's been really fun to teach. I love teaching. And I wouldn't have been able to teach at all if the world was as it was, because I was so.
And what kind of a teacher are you? Are you a taskmaster? Are you nurturing? What are you?
Mixture. I think I'm a hybrid of a lot of things in my life. I'm super intense and super soft at the same time. And I feel like I demand a lot in a space. I demand a lot in any space that has to do with dance. But I also, I hope people say this, I also am supportive, complimentary, and I understand how hard it is, because I was there when it was felt impossible for me.
Yeah. So when you're casting, what are you looking for in a dancer?
I always go to this. I don't know why I refuse it, but I always go to this. When I see someone trying, not getting it per se, but trying, and you see all the channels are open, and the desire, you can see it spewing out of their eyes. That's what I navigate towards. Effort and desire. All the other stuff I can fix. I don't care if you fall. I don't care if you trip. I don't care if you get this move. I care after the fourth time. Sure. But we're just meeting. Like if I'm auditioning, we just got here. And there's a million people at the audition. It's moving so fast. You want the job so bad. Like I want to be able to tell the artist, I know, I understand the pressure. Let's just try to, I always say, take it as a master class. Take this as a class. You're going to learn something about yourself, you know? But then when you see people trying to really understand what you're trying to say as an artist, it's so beautiful. And that's that's the room I want to be in. And kindness, respectful. That's another one.
So what if you still don't get it after the fourth time?
I will say, I usually say, this is a repetitive note. What else do we need? That's what I usually say. This is a note that's becoming repetitive now. What else do we need? Do we need to stop and go back and break it down? Because it's it's also the competition and the art of pressure that no one, God forbid, asks a question. You'll get one or two that will ask a question. And I was asking 1,000 questions, which I'm sure was not productive either. But if I don't know, and I don't want you to sit, and I think like they're sitting and stewing and stressing over this one part, if they would just ask me, I would break it down for them, you know?
Mm. Have you ever had to say to a dancer, I'm sorry, this isn't working?
Yeah. Terrible.
That must be hard.
Terrible. Brutal. But it wasn't, I wasn't necessarily, it has to be other stuff as well. Like it's really, it takes a lot for me to do that. And I think I've only done it once or twice in my lifetime. You know, it's awful.
Wow. Believe it or not, Sonya, we're out of time.
All right. This was so great. Thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you for coming. I mean,
Of course.
it was so wonderful first to learn how to pronounce your name correctly. That's like, oh my God. For
Okay.
an interviewer, that's the worst thing. But
Oh my God.
I'm glad you were so nice about it. Thank you.
Totally fine. Of course.
And to hear, you know, the arc of your absolutely wonderful career and the beautiful, beautiful work that you've done.
Thank you. So much.
Thank you again for coming on and talking to us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night, Sonya. Well, so join me again in 2 weeks on Sunday, December 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when I'm going to be interviewing Irina Dovorovenko. Irina was born in Kiev, Ukraine, and was a former principal dancer with American Ballet Theater. In the spring of 2013, she retired from the American Ballet Theater stage and simultaneously made her musical theater debut in the New York City Center Encore's production of Rodgers and Hart, On Your Toes. She has appeared in numerous stage and television productions and is a truly versatile dancer who has transitioned into acting roles. Listen in on a wonderful journey in dance and acting. I hope to see you all again on December 22nd. Good night, everyone, and thank you so much. Good night.